First of all, I think when your country's in a war, it is never useful to be on the side of the opposition. And to have a pro-Iranian Democratic Party is not, in the long run, a very good place to be.
Yeah, spot on, Newt Gingrich, as always, friend and mentor, pro-Iranian Democratic Party. It's just remarkable. And what folks do want, which is voter ID reform, they're not getting. Anyway, we'll welcome back to the show Liz Peek, Fox News contributor, and Caroline Downey, National Review columnist. Ladies, thank you for this. This started, first of all, Liz, your column, what do the Democrats stand for? And too many of them are speaking out in favor of Iran. Chris Murphy, senator from Connecticut, being one, but he's not the only one by a long shot. The second point I want to throw in, the new Harvard-Harris CAP poll, which is one of the better polls, shows overwhelmingly Americans want voter ID reform. The Republicans may not give it to them. That concerns me. But at least that's something positive. Democrats, I've written them off, Liz. Go ahead.
I think that's very reasonable.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I think it's worth saying that the Democrats are not just pro-Iran, or some of them are pro-Iran. They're also violently now anti-Israel. And I think that is really very much guiding Democrat policy across the board. They also hate Donald Trump. Everything they do is about confronting and opposing Donald Trump. It is such a meager platform, Larry, but that's what they've got right now. They talk about impeachment. They talk about not just going after Trump when he's out of office, but everyone who worked for him, all the companies that did business with him. I mean, they've really kind of gone berserk, in my view. But anyway, the SAVE Act, I think this is a disgrace if we don't get some version of this. I have thought for months and months the Republicans should just put on the Senate floor a one-item bill, voter ID. Make the Democrats vote against voter ID, because it isn't just Harvard-Harris. There have been a slew of polls. 85% of the country thinks that's a reasonable thing.
Well, voter ID plus some citizenship proof.
Yeah, fine. But
other things, gender and so forth,
totally
not
stupid.
Necessary.
Right.
But the problem here, Caroline, they're not doing it. The Republicans aren't doing it. I want to come back to the Democrats on Iran, but just on this point, they don't seem to be doing it, and they don't seem to be putting together the kind of fiscal reconciliation budget bill, 50 votes plus the VEP, that would get it done.
Yeah, no, Congress is being completely feckless on election integrity. And I understand that there are some old school Republicans who fear that if we hand over control of elections completely to the federal government, that could be hijacked against us in the future by the Democrats. They like how the states manage elections, at least when it comes to actually doing the balloting and the tallying. And then they like how the federal government gets to come in and determine whether it's valid. That being said, I mean, it's pretty clear that blue states have no incentive to have election integrity because they're empowered and they benefit from fraudulent votes.
Didn't Virginia,
non-citizens.
Trump says Virginia on this redistricting vote had a huge amount of paper ballots at the last minute to put it over.
That's a whole other can of worms.
I mean, that's really something. I hate to, but he's made that charge. I don't know. Late paper ballots. I don't want to go there. The locals can run the actual voting thing that day, the mechanics of it, but you have to have rules as to who's allowed to vote.
Yeah, and there's an argument to be made that
if
we streamline this federally, it means there's less room for abuse. And let's be honest, there's so many elections in this country, Larry, that are determined by a couple thousand votes. So those small margins do matter. And to your point about Virginia, Fairfax County is the reason that redistricting measure passed. Very slim margins, very slim. Most of Virginia did not want the most aggressive gerrymander in the nation. Most of Virginia in the rural red areas said no, but Fairfax pushed it over the finish line.
Liz, your number in your latest article, Democrats are 30% today below where they were in 2018.
30 points lower in terms of approval ratings, and Trump is 7 points later, which really tells you a lot that basically their own party is sort of fed up with them, mainly because they're not doing enough to oppose Donald Trump. Kind of hard to figure out where else they would go on that, right? But I think Carolyn's totally right. Democrats have absolutely no incentive to clean up their voter rolls because we know that dead people almost always vote for Democrats. So why would they want to kick them off the rolls, right? Obviously, people who are not citizens clearly vote Democratic, and they know that that's going to happen. So unfortunately, now you have the situation where, yeah, we don't want the feds taking over election policy totally, But they can certainly investigate issues of fraud because every representative in the House is basically representing that their election was valid. And the federal government can go after that and prove it was otherwise.
But I saw in that Harris poll, I think 60% plus of the Democrats wanted voter ID reform, for heaven's
sakes. And every demographic, minorities, poor people, everybody thinks it's reasonable.
But Caroline, it's not on the radar screen. I mean, the president's been calling they're going for a skinny reconciliation bill. We're going to talk about that with Senator Scott in a few minutes. But they don't have a vehicle to get what, and by the way, they don't have any tax cuts. They don't have, we had a good pro-growth bill last year, but we don't have any tax cut pro-growth bill this year. It's a new ball game with $4 gasoline. I need more. I want to push the accelerator down more.
Democrats don't really have an organic package of good things to present to voters. What they do have is deception. That's what they did in Virginia. Okay, this is their new modus operandi, Larry. It's don't advertise their plans until they're already in office. Abigail Spanberger did not run on the redistricting and gerrymandering.
I'm not really a socialist when I run, but I am a socialist when I govern.
No, this is how they do it. They're doing the flip-flop once they're in power, pretending to be a moderate on the campaign trail, even actively opposing the redistricting, and then once they're in, bless the Democratic legislature. The other thing, back to Iran, can I just say one thing, Larry? I just want to say one thing.
Real quick.
Young people don't remember 9/11, so is it really any wonder that they support Iran and China over Israel?
I'll just say socialism is always bad. During the campaign and when you're in the government. Caroline Downey, Liz Peek, thank you very much.